What's up? This is Elden here coming at you with another video on 7 Nights. Today I'm going to be answering the question of who should I pick for my first 6-star. As many of us know, once we complete this guide quest, we are able to choose a 6-star, but many people don't know who to choose, but it's actually all based upon what kind of monsters or players you already have. So you could choose Evan, a 6-star Evan.
Let's go on an adventure.
He's actually good due to his defense buff, and he's able to stun by himself. So he's pretty legit, but I wouldn't really recommend him for your first 6-star. You can also get Karen.
Does anyone require my assistance?
You can also get 6-star Karen. She's a healer and a reviver, and she has her own passive, which allows her to resurrect with 100% HP after death, which could be really helpful in certain situations. But again, I wouldn't recommend her for your first 6-star, because you really want a 6-star that can deal out damage and farm if you don't already have a farming 6-star. So with that said, you can see all the 6-stars here that you could obtain, but the one that you actually want to get is down here, and it is
Shall we play the game?
Hellfire
Just
Velka.
you and me.
Hellfire Velka is a AoE type creature that allows you to farm very fast, and farming is key in this game. So her skill, Meteor, attacks all enemies with 8% magical power, attack power, deals burn damage with 50% of magical attack power for 2 turns at a certain rate. So once you use the Meteor, it'll do a bunch of damage, and if they manage to survive, then they will most likely die from the burns if it becomes their turn again. Her second skill is Flame of Darkness. Attacks all enemies with 80% of magic attack power and ignores the target's defense. This is really good for just wiping out the opposing team in one shot due to it having ignore defense. And then she has a passive, reduce incoming magical damage for all allies by 50%. So this is a really great farming monster that if you don't already have, you should choose. But if you do have her as a 5-star or already as a 6-star, by pulling her luckily, then another option would be a healer. Lucy.
Let me lead.
Lucy is really good as a other pick due to her skills also. Heals all allies by 80% of magical attack power. So the higher her attack power is, the more she's going to heal, which is really good, and it's everybody on the team. And then her second skill removes all ally debuffs. When you're doing like Castle Rush or something, you need to have a Debuff Remover, or your score will be really low and your monsters or creatures will die off really fast. So that's why she's a good healer. Spiritual ability increases all allies block rate by 50%. Passive is really great. Again, if you're versing someone in Castle Rush, or you're doing I think it's Celestial Tower CT, then you will be able to have more of a chance to survive due to her passive and due to her healing and her debuff remover. If you already managed to have both of those two, then you're pretty much set. But another choice would be Jupe.
Will you be my target?
Jupe is a really good Castle Rush type player, but the only thing I don't like about her is that she's extremely squishy, meaning that she can't take a hit to save her life. So if you're gonna run a Jupe, make sure you have the team to back her up, and you're gonna want to have equips that boost her attack like crazy. But before Jupe and Lucy, I would recommend getting
I owe the victory to my
Flame
shield.
Comet Helena. A reason I would recommend getting her is due to her farming capabilities that tie in with Milkha. First, her passive increases all allies' block rate by 30%, additionally reducing all receiving damage by 40% for oneself. So it gives you more of a chance to block. And then her Celestial Shield block enemies' attacks for 2 turns, additionally taunt all enemies. This is really good because once you have a Milkha, sometimes she doesn't move as quickly as you want them, and the other opposing team will attack faster and will kill your fodder. But with this skill on, they will all attack her, and she has a high defense, so all your fodder will survive, most likely, unless it's like an AoE attack that they do and your fodder dies. But if it's a single target attack, then all of your fodder will survive, and she'll just be getting attacked while Velka's skills are recharging, and you could just wipe out the entire team. And she also is pretty good for, she's pretty good for CR, but I wouldn't really use her that much for CR. I would use it for Celestial Tower more, because once she attacks enemies with this skill, as you can see, attacks all enemies with 80% of physical attack power. Additionally, heals self HP by 100% of the damage, meaning she's pretty much self-sustaining, and she has high defense with this skill and with her passive, allowing her to be very, very useful. I am personally actually gonna try getting her very soon due to her being so useful. Another choice that some people tend to get is
Do you want some
Yuri.
foxiness?
Yuri. I just like the character design. That's what I would probably get her for. But her passive is pretty good too. Decreases all enemies' defense by 40%. So if you have a high hitter already and you wanted to get Yuri, she's a good party mate for that high hitter when you're farming for fodder or leveling up your fodder. She also has an attack called Spiritual Drain or Spirit Drain. Attacks an enemy with 180% of magic power. Additionally, life drains 100% of the damage. So she's also pretty self-sustaining, but it's only a single target. So if she doesn't one-shot him, she could still drain all the damage that she's done. But I would probably choose, I did choose Velka over her. Because she's, not that high with the defense. And she doesn't hit as much as Velka, because Velka has 2 AoEs, when she only has 1 AoE. Attacks, the second skill is Magic Orb. Attack all enemies with 80% magical attack power. Silence the target in certain rate for 2 turns. This is actually pretty useful, especially in Crystal Towers and PvP, because once a person is silenced, they can't use their skills. So if you are doing Crystal Tower PvP and you are versing someone that has Lucy's Debuff Remover skill, or Debuff Remover, then they won't be able to remove that debuff, and you can just keep on stacking on debuffs to make them go down faster. So she is useful in that. extent. I wouldn't recommend getting
Sounds like calm down.
Sniper or Sniffer. He's just not that great in my opinion. Becomes immune to all physical attacks for 3 turns. He's more of a self-sustaining type character instead of a party sustaining type character, and you really want a party sustaining type character because they're usually more helpful. Another one you can get is Light Blesser Aerial. Attacks all enemies with 80% magical attack power. Blind the target for 2 turns with a certain rate. So this is an AoE move, and then it blinds the target, meaning that when they attack, they can have a higher chance of missing. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it is a higher chance of missing. And it's called Judgment of Light. Her second skill is Bright Light. Attack all enemies with 80% magical attack power. Additionally, removes all buffs. This is really good in CT, PvP, PvE, and Castle Rush, so she's all around pretty good due to that removing all buffs skill. And then her passive increases all allies' crit rate by 50%. So again, she's a really good all-around team player. The monk.
Revenge.
Furious Apostle Lee. I wouldn't recommend choosing him as your first 6-star because it's just a self-sustaining type character again. As you can see, Sign of Revenge, counter attacks enemies who attack you with a certain rate. Self become immune to all physical attack. That's Abdomon, however you pronounce that. Pentuple Palm. Attack an enemy with 180% of physical attack power. Stun the target for 2 turns with certain rate. So, he's not that great for your first 6-star. He can be useful later on, and I know in the way future he's going to be a decent player. Oh, wrong button. But yeah, I wouldn't choose him as your first. I think we have 1 more or 2 more that you can choose.
Oh yeah!
Maestro
Music time.
Yui. She's a pretty good healer, but I prefer Lucy over her. Melody of Blessing, heal all allies HP by 80% of the magical attack power, just like Lucy's and I believe Karen's. They're all 80% when they are 6-star. Revive all dead allies with 30% HP. This is pretty good if you're using her for PvP or I guess a Celestial Tower. But I still would I would still prefer Karen. This is my own opinion. I would still prefer Karen because if she dies, at least she has a self-revive and then is able to revive someone else too. So I just like that kind of factor. But you could team her up with a Karen or a Lucy and they'll be pretty good. The passive, all allies become immune to silence for 6 turns. This is really good for PvP and Celestial Tower because most of those monsters usually try to silence you, or players try to silence you, so you won't be able to use your skill. And with this in place, you will be able to use your skills all the time. The next one is
I owe the victory to my soul.
a blue Meteor Helena. She's really good. I like her a lot. Judgment Sword, attack all enemies with 80% physical attack power, stun the target for 2 turns with a certain rate. I've seen I've versed players actually that use this skill in PvP. It just wiped out my team due to them having really, like, due to them max giving her +5, then having +5 double slot weapons on her, she's really a hard hitter. And this, even if I manage to survive, I'll usually get stunned by the first skill, and then they'll use this skill. And it's attack an enemy with 180% physical attack power. Additionally, reduces the target's buffs by 3 turns. This is pretty annoying because if you have a buff that it pretty much will allow you to sustain throughout the player versus player match, this will eliminate that buff quicker than what your timer will pull down at. And then her passive, Mana Capture, become immune to all physical attacks for 3 turns. Although I said that you'd rather have like a team player, she is a team player because she has AoE, but her passive isn't a team player, it's for her directly, individually. I still like her over Sniffer and the Monk. I believe that is all. No, you can also get Spirit Sorceress Silva, Sylvia, I believe. Spiritual Breath. Attack an enemy with 180% of magic power. Decreases the target's damage by 80% with a certain rate. So this will actually be really useful in Castro Rush and pretty much anywhere. If you don't have a Rachel, a 7 Knights Rachel. The second skill is pretty much what a Rachel does, but in AoE. Well, Rachel, when she revives in AoE, is in place, but yeah. Attacks all enemies with 80% magical attack power, decreases the target's defense by 50% for 2 turns with a certain rate. Again, she's a great substitute for Rachel if you don't have her on your team. And this is a unique passive. Harvest Soul. When enemies die, gain 50% of magical attack power. The effect does not stack and remains for 3 turns. So, once an enemy dies, all of her skills gain 50%. So this skill will be 230% magical attack power. And then this skill will be 120 magical attack power. So she's a pretty good farmer on her own, but not as good as Milkha. And the final one you can get, I believe, is Dark Sorceress. No, that's not, I already did that. I'm done. Is actually this one. Master of Nature, Karen. He is a AoE healer. So, well, this one is heal 1 ally's HP by 190% of the magical attack power. Pretty much, if you have high magic attack, he's gonna just fully heal your other player. And his cooldown is pretty short too. And then Breath of Nature, heal all allies' HP by 80% of magical attack power. So again, just have high magical attack and he's really good. And then I Got Your Back. All allies become immune to stun for 6 turns. This is really good, just like Yui. It enables your players to keep on going through the game without having to worry about the debuffs coming in. So pretty good, but I wouldn't, again, recommend having that as your first 6-star. Now that I believe I've covered all of the first 6 stars you can get from the 6-star selector, who you should get really depends on what type of players you already have. But my top 3 recommended ones to actually get would have to be Milkha, of course, already covered why.
Just you and me.
But again, double AoEs, and then passive reduces magical damage. Second one would have to be Helena, Fire Comet Helena. Stated beforehand, allows your fodders to stay alive, and she's pretty self-sustaining, so you don't have to worry about a heal on the team due to her being a tank. And then the third one that I would recommend would be Light Luster Aerial. Multiple uses throughout all the fields in the game. Only downside, she's kind of squishiest, but you could just equip better stat armor to her to alleviate her of that squishiness a bit. So those are the top 3 that I would recommend someone getting if they don't already have a AoE healer, which they will from the quest line. You'll get a free UE, so you don't really have to worry about that then. So what you want to focus on is a farmer overall, and that farmer will be your best friend throughout the entire game, because it'll make life so much easier. Well, this video has been going on for pretty long. I hope this helped new players out understand who they should choose when they get their first 6-star from the guide quest completion. Well, this is Elden. Hopefully I helped you. If not, I'll try to clarify in another video. But, peace!